Was the coronavirus unleashed by the government? The COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound impact on the world, and many are questioning how it all began. In this video, we'll explore the theories, facts, and evidence surrounding this topic to help you form your own opinion. So buckle up and get ready to dive into the mystery of the origin of the coronavirus. First, let's start with the facts. The first known cases of COVID-19 were reported in Wuhan, China, in December 2019. A virus quickly spread, and within weeks, it had become a global pandemic. Since then, there have been many questions about how the virus originated and whether or not it could have been intentionally released. One theory is that the virus escaped from a lab in Wuhan. The Wuhan Institute of Virology, which studies coronaviruses, has been the focus of much speculation. However, most experts believe that it is highly unlikely that the virus was intentionally released from the lab. Another theory is that the virus originated in bats and was transmitted to humans at a wet market in Wuhan. This is the theory that has been widely accepted by the scientific community. But what about the possibility that the virus was intentionally released by a government or some other entity? While there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, it is important to consider the geopolitical implications of the pandemic. Some people believe that the pandemic was created by governments to control their populations or distract from other issues. While this may seem far-fetched, it is important to remember that governments throughout history have used crises to further their agendas. Finally, it is worth noting that even if the virus was intentionally released, it does not necessarily mean that it was done so with malicious intent. Some have suggested that the pandemic was an unintended consequence of a government's attempt to develop a biological weapon. In January 2021, a team of WHO scientists embarked on a 4-week journey to Wuhan to investigate the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. The delegation worked closely with Chinese counterparts, leaving no stone unturned in their quest to uncover the truth behind the virus emergence. They sifted through mountains of evidence and data, examining all possible avenues of transmission. Despite rumors that the virus was transmitted through frozen food imports, the WHO team found no conclusive evidence to support this theory. Similarly, they dismissed the possibility of a laboratory leak, noting that the virus was highly unlikely to have been intentionally engineered or accidentally cultured in a lab. However, the WHO's findings were met with criticism, with some arguing that the investigation lacked transparency and independence. The Chinese government was accused of limiting access and refusing to share data, and concerns were raised about the WHO's ability to conduct an unbiased inquiry. Despite these challenges, the WHO team persisted in their efforts to shed light on the virus's origins. And while the findings were not conclusive, they sparked a renewed interest in the topic, with experts from around the world calling for a new and unrestricted investigation. The quest for knowledge continues as the world seeks to understand the origins of a pandemic that has changed life as we know it. As the world grapples with the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, tensions between the US and China have been running high. Chinese officials have categorically denied that the virus originated in Wuhan, let alone in China at all. They have instead called on the WHO to investigate the possibility that the virus began in other countries, including the United States. The accusations have sparked a war of words between Washington and Beijing, with the Trump administration repeatedly blaming China for the pandemic throughout 2020. However, many critics argue that the use of inflammatory rhetoric such as the China virus and Kung flu fueled anti-Asian bias in the United States. President Joe Biden has taken a more measured approach, refraining from supporting any one theory about the virus's origin. However, he and his administration have called for a thorough investigation in China, a stance that has not gone down well with Beijing. Adding fuel to the fire is the fact that the U.S. National Institutes of Health pulled funding for a research project on coronaviruses, in which the Wuhan Institute was a chief partner, in April 2020. Against this backdrop of political tension, the search for answers continues. As the world waits for a definitive conclusion on the virus's origins, one thing is clear: finding the truth may be as much about navigating the complex geopolitical landscape as it is about science. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused immense devastation, and the world is determined to prevent a repeat of this tragedy. Public health experts have emphasized the importance of investigating the origin of the virus to prevent future outbreaks. Understanding how a virus spreads to humans is crucial in identifying high-risk activities such as farming, herding, and selling animals. Additionally, pinpointing the virus's origin in humans will improve our understanding of how these viruses work and how they can change across different species. Governments worldwide are being urged to invest in a comprehensive network of national epidemic surveillance systems to detect and respond to potential threats promptly. The economic toll of the pandemic has been enormous, with a Brookings Institution report estimating that the economic output lost between 2020 and 2030 could amount to over 50% of the 2019 global GDP, not to mention human costs such as premature deaths and education losses. Furthermore, the pandemic has pushed millions of people into extreme poverty, exacerbating an already critical global issue. These alarming statistics serve as a wake-up call to the world, emphasizing the importance of investing in public health infrastructure and taking proactive measures to prevent future pandemics. We must keep this in mind that time is of the essence when it comes to tracing the origin of COVID-19, as scientists warn that the longer we wait, the harder it will be to uncover the truth. The virus's antibodies eventually disappear, limiting the time frame for researchers to trace clusters of infections around the start of the pandemic. With this in mind, the World Health Organization announced in October 2021 that it would form a team of over 24 experts to investigate the origins of the virus and other pathogens with pandemic potential. However, China's resistance to further research on its territory has complicated matters, with Beijing denouncing U.S. reports as a complete political farce. Experts believe it's highly unlikely that China will allow foreign investigators the access they're requesting, and the WHO lacks the authority to force China's compliance. Despite the challenges, the WHO initiative is seen as the last chance to unravel the mystery of how the virus emerged. This controversy has reignited calls for enhanced biosafety measures, highlighting the need for scientists to follow specific protocols while conducting biological research. Additionally, there's a growing demand to review existing international laws and norms like the Biological Weapons Convention and international health regulations to strengthen their regulatory teeth and enforce those norms. As CFR Swang puts it, we need to act swiftly to develop effective measures to prevent future pandemics and protect global public health. In short, the search for the origin of COVID-19 is a race against time, and the clock is ticking. While the WHO initiative provides a glimmer of hope, it's clear that we need to act fast to bolster biosafety measures and enhance existing international laws and norms. The world must work together to prevent future pandemics and ensure that we're better prepared for any such eventuality in the future. While the theory that the coronavirus was intentionally released by the government is highly unlikely, it is important to remain vigilant and keep asking questions. The pandemic has raised many important issues about our society and the way we live, and it is up to us to stay informed and engaged.